Some of the most damaging relationships are the hardest ones to explain, and they don't have to look extreme in order to be deeply harmful. Welcome to the Covert Narcissism Podcast, where we make sense of what never quite made sense. If you've been listening for a while, you may already understand what's happening in your relationship. You can see the patterns, you can name the behaviors, but maybe you still feel stuck in the same cycle. This is where coaching comes in. It's not about learning more, it's about having the support to finally apply what you already know and begin moving forward. You need a coach. If you're ready for that next step, I invite you to join me in my coaching program. You can learn more about it at covertnarcissism.com. Welcome back to the Covert Narcissism Podcast. Today's episode is part one of a CNG Community Chat, and the topic is one that so many of you have asked me about. When your children start to see the covert narcissism and the abuse that's going on in their world. If you've ever wondered whether your kids notice more than you think they do, or you've worried about what it does to them to grow up in this kind of home, this conversation is for you. I sat down with 4 women in our community, all moms of young adult children, to talk honestly about the moment their kids started to wake up to the covert narcissism in the family and what life looks like now on the other side of that. Let's get into it. So the topic on hand today is when your children start to see it. And boy, do I know, and we all know, that can be incredibly challenging and just difficult on so many levels. So we're just going to jump into this. Give me a kind of a picture of what is the ages of your children. I've got 2 in their mid-20s. Catherine, can you give us an age range of your kids?
Yes, my youngest. Oh, Catherine, I'm sorry.
We have a Catherine and a Kathleen.
Sorry.
Yes, I have 26, 23, and 19.
Okay, so young adults just getting started in life. Okay, Kathleen, how about you?
I have a 20-year-old and 2 23-year-old twins.
Okay, and Lauren?
I have a 26-year-old son and a 29-year-old daughter.
Okay, so we're all in the 20s so far. Sharon, how about you?
Yeah, I have 3 in their 20s, and then my youngest is 17.
Your youngest is 17?
Yeah.
Okay. So all of us have about that same age, and I'm going to tell you that I think that's the case with most of my audience. It's like they get into those young adult years, or we're 2 decades into this marriage, and I think that's when a lot of light bulbs start going off. So that's a later episode, a later community chat as to why is it everybody's been married for 20 to 30 years when they show up here. So, all right, let's get started. What first made you realize that your child or children were starting to see the covert narcissism for what it is? Do you have some that see it and some that don't?
Well, for me, in early December, my 26-year-old son caught my husband with his 31-year-old coworker, employee actually, and in the middle of the night. And my husband told me a story that I wanted to believe, and so I believed it. But my son and my daughter both were telling me, "Mom, stop being so nice to Dad. He is cheating on you."
I'm really sorry to hear that. That's rough.
I hired a private investigator because I thought that the investigator was going to prove to the children that he wasn't cheating so that they would stop being mad at him. And it, of course, proved the opposite. And then I started my 89-year-old father said, "Lauren, he totally lacks empathy. He's a psychopath." He's like, "Go on Amazon and look up some books about sociopaths or psychopaths." So I went on Amazon and I found the Covert Narcissist books. I think I've read 10 or 11 by now, and this is only since the middle of March.
Wow.
So I listen to your podcast every time I see it come up, and it's helped me so much. And all the prayers that I've begged for everybody, I feel so free, and I'm so grateful because I really was dragging this marriage around like a weekend at Bernie's. I was putting sunglasses on it, propping it up, and pretending, everything was fine. But I had been in the discard. Now I know I've been in the discard phase for 3 years, since 2023. And I'd
Okay.
been, not wanting to accept it, but
Okay.
accepting it was a wonderful thing.
Okay. So for you, your children starting to see it, it was a specific moment.
Right.
Okay. I'm really sorry for you and
Thank,
for them to have
thank
to
you.
go through that. That's a major light bulb having to turn on and very abruptly.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else want to share? Was it a specific moment or a slow dawning? Catherine, go ahead.
Yes, I also had a specific moment about my kids, not myself. And the marriage itself. I like the weekend at Bernie's
I
reference.
do too.
I wish I didn't relate. But as I woke up from the fog, I thought everyone else was in the same fog. So I sat down with my 26-year-old and thought that I was going to drop this really heavy news on him, and was trying to think of the best way to bring it up. And so I started talking about it, and he just looked me in the eye and said, "Mom, I know. I
Mm.
know." Um, and yeah, I mean, we'll probably get into it a bit later, but that was where I really learned the value of having my sons in therapy, because you think that you are dealing with this and that the kids aren't as affected by it because I always thought, oh well, it's not physical abuse and I can
Mhm.
protect them from this. And I learned over time that that is so very not true. They are living it every day just like we are.
They absolutely are. And they see it a whole lot more than we think they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We think we're shielding them from it. We think that we're protecting them from it. And I've come to realize that's just not true.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Anyone
they're
else
very
want to share?
perceptive.
Do what, Lauren?
They're very perceptive.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kathleen, go ahead and share with us.
I think I have 2 points to kind of piggyback what they were saying. So I realized, I think I felt it with my children being aware when they were younger, maybe in their early teens, based on their avoidance of my husband. And more directly, most recently, my 20-year-old came right out and told me, Mom, he's a narcissist, and I don't know how you put up with it. I don't know how you haven't seen it. And, I feel like that I know you love me, but you've contributed to it indirectly and unintentionally. So there's a lot of guilt there. But I think I realized it in my own eyes that when I saw them avoiding going to their rooms, avoiding him, but then directly, most recently, my daughter came right out and told me at 20 years of age. So it was kind of a dawning, but then very right there in my face. She
Yeah.
said the words.
When your kids voice it like that, it's hard to not embrace it at that point. Like my son was 18 when first time he said to me, "Mom, Dad is psychologically abusive." He didn't use the word covert narcissism at that point, but that was the word he used. And I was like, "You are spot on."
Well, that was it.
Did you
Really,
say
I
2?
noticed. Yes, I noticed the avoidance when they were younger, in their teen years, and almost their fear of what I was seeing as patterns of the behaviors directed towards them or towards me. So I noticed it over the years as repeated patterns. But then the second point was that my youngest came right out and told me, that I don't like how he
Gotcha.
treats me or anybody or you at 20 years of age. But I
Okay.
saw it as slowly dawning over, but now I really see it and I can't unsee it, unfortunately. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sharon, how about you? Is it a specific moment for your kids or is it more a slow process?
I think it's been a specific moment as well. I'll just tell the story of one of my children. It was shortly after the discard, and it was my son's birthday, and we were having dinner planned, and with me and his other siblings, and the ex was in another country, and he wanted to call my son to wish him a happy birthday at a specific time, and it just happened to be when we were going to have dinner. So my son was like, well, can we do it half an hour later? Started a big fight between him and his dad. And then his dad said, well, I'm shutting your phone off if you don't want to talk to me, if you don't want to have a relationship with me. So my son really saw like the manipulation of it. Like he couldn't wait half an hour. Like if he really wanted to talk to him, obviously he would wait, right? but just having to be in control. So I think that was his first wake-up call, I guess, to the narcissism. Yeah.
Yeah. So with our kids seeing it, there's a lot of people who go through a relationship where the kids don't see it, and that has its own challenges for sure. When your kids do see it, that presents challenges as well. I mean, both have, pros and cons to this. But what does this look like now in your daily life with your kids? I know for me, it ended up like my kids and I functioned as a family kind of separate from him. And we were good. We were functioning. We were doing daily life. We were having daily conversations. We were doing all the things that a mom and children do, but he just wasn't a part of it. What does that look like for you guys? What does that look like for you guys?
Yes. So all of my sons still live at home. So that, it's still a today kind of thing. And Kathleen, thank you for mentioning how they all kind of just avoided, because I didn't pick up on that. I actually internalized it and thought they didn't like us. I took it upon myself to take responsibility for the fact that my kids were isolating themselves. And now I realize they were doing it out of self-protection because they knew that's what they needed to do. And they still do that. They very much keep to their own rooms and kind of away from him. And it was interesting because Renee, you mentioned the difference between kids who see it and who don't. Well, my middle son understands, but he's also on the autism spectrum and is, a little behind emotional maturity wise. He's kind of catching up, but he's getting it slowly. So it's very painful to watch that happen. And recently, something happened that caused me to think that I may want to end the marriage. And then I knew, well, we won't be safe if I have this conversation with my husband at home. So, I rounded up the kids and we went away for the weekend. And my middle son struggled really hard with that because when all was said and done, he was like, now I'm afraid. Is dad going to harm me in the middle of the night? Is he that dangerous? Why did we have to leave town? And, it was really hard for me to explain to him that dad's not necessarily safe. We know that he's not emotionally safe, but physically he's safe as long as there isn't a major event going on. And that's really hard. It's really hard for me to even think through, how do I describe this? And then I ask myself, do I even believe this story that I'm telling my son? I guess we aren't really safe. I kind of start to think about that and mull it over. But, ultimately having to tell him, no, you're not in physical danger. That's why we left when I had a big, hard thing to talk to dad about. It's best that we talk to dad about big, hard things, over text, if possible. And it's painful and awkward and just, I just feel like I shouldn't even have to have these conversations, and how to navigate that. It's like every day it's a new thing, a new hurdle to have to jump.
Yeah. It's hard watching their pain as the kids go through this. And so I'm going to add that to this question of what does your day-to-day look like right now? And are the kids trying to have a relationship with their dad, or where they stand, as young adults on this? And how do you do carrying the pain that they're dealing with?
Well, if I may interject, I raised my children to have him on a pedestal, just like I had him on a pedestal, and he was their hero. And just today, actually, I was with my 29-year-old daughter, and I said, I'm sorry I did that. She's like, no, it was good. It was good because the alternative, I don't know. I wasn't ready to see him any other way. And so I guided the children to also idolize him. And we had 25 happy years. The children grew up in a relatively happy home because I was I was internalizing everything. I was kind of like the insulation for his harshness. And like I would quote this Dr. Seuss book, Dad had a bad day. What a day Dad had, and just say Daddy's stressed, and Daddy works really hard. We just have to give him a little space and time and, bring him a lemonade or something. But then there was moments where he was just so harsh with the children. Like when our son was about 7 years old, I bought him this sweatshirt at a garage sale, and it said Abercrombie and Fitch on the front. And he loved that sweatshirt, and he wore it all the time. I think I paid $4. And then when he started growing out of it, he grabbed the kitchen scissors and he tried to cut the cuffs off, so it would fit better. And my husband found him, saw him doing that, and he went ballistic. You would have thought that my son had shot the Pope. My husband was just like, he turned into a kind of a monster. And that's when I would get strong and I'd be like, what? Your reaction to this is not proportionate to the crime. I said, I bought him that sweatshirt at a garage sale, and he can do whatever he wants to it. It's his.
Right.
But there were so many instances like that. And I love when you say in your intro, Renee, making sense out of what quite never made sense. Like that never made sense to me. That he would be so harsh about something so silly and petty.
But that's what we go through. I mean, that is absolutely the experience that so many of us have voiced. And the kids trying to make sense in this, like, it's impossible. They're trying to make sense out of it, and they've got their perspective as a child. They've never known any life outside of dealing with a covert narcissist.
Yeah.
It really adds to their confusion.
So I think just watching my children be attacked verbally or insulted or undermined or whatever it would be from my husband, when they were younger and even now, would jump in and it would blow up. He would say, I'm talking to my child or I'm talking to my son, you need to stay out of it. And now fast forward to when they're in their 20s or late teens, they're now standing up for themselves and speaking up. And it's just really sad to see that they are aware and they're trying to claim their ground and be strong by saying this isn't okay, or Dad, you're so controlling, and for dinner we're having this, but of course we have to sit in these chairs, or of course so and so has to have that first, of course. And so I hear them speaking to him, whereas when they were little they never would say boo, but now it's, oh, right, Dad, I am supposed to do that, like you always say. And I hear that and I think, oh my gosh, wow. And I think that they felt that for years, but now they're older and the gloves are off, so to speak. My oldest daughter said, Mom, I don't care. I didn't say it when I was little. I was afraid. I didn't know. And now I don't care what he thinks. I'm just going to say it. So I just kind of sit back now and watch it unfold.
How's that feel to sit back and watch?
I'm sad to see it. I'm nervous to see what the reaction will be. It's never well received from my husband's end. It often goes into you're ungrateful, or you should be thankful for everything you have, and how dare you talk to me that way, or go ahead, go live your own life. And it's one of the reasons why I think my son isn't living at home anymore. He's out on his own, and yeah, I think it makes me sad, but it also makes me feel like good for you for standing up. I mean, it's just been for their entire lives to see it, where I guess I was living it, and now I really see it, eyes wide open. But it makes me sad, but it also makes me feel like good for you for standing up for yourself.
Anyone else, their kids are starting to speak up and starting to voice how they feel to the narcissist in their life?
So some of my children are really setting healthy boundaries, and one of them has like hardly any contact. And that I actually feel better about than my children who they still want a relationship and they're not really setting those healthy boundaries. For me, that's the hardest to see, because I've gone like little to no contact, So I see that some of my children are becoming sort of what I was, the scapegoat, the person to blame, and just dump on. So that part's really hard because they're older and like I can tell them, you need to have healthy boundaries, and I've like set them up with counseling, but unfortunately it's still they have to do it. So I think for me it's much harder when they don't speak up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they are going through it kind of in their own way, and they're not going to see it until they see it. They're repeating the patterns of what you lived with this person.
I think so, because they do see it and acknowledge it at times, but then they make excuses for it, or, well, he had a bad childhood, or he had a bad day, when I was doing the same thing, always apologizing for his behavior, or saying like, oh, we have to be more understanding. So yeah, that's really hard when I see them doing the same
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you tried to say anything to them to help them to see the patterns, or are you just kind of sitting back and watching?
No, I've tried to talk to them, because they're older, and I've tried to set healthy boundaries. And if you're going to have a relationship with him, you have to understand there's going to be these issues and there's a limit to it, and you just have to protect yourself. And I have one that's really struggling with doing that. So I'm just hoping in time and with therapy that he'll get to that point. But
Okay.
yeah.
It is hard to watch
It's
because
very
our kids are on their own journey through this, and that is hard to watch. That's where we're going to leave things for part 1. Thank you for joining us. We've heard about the moment that it clicked for each of these women's kids and what it's like now, day to day, watching that relationship with their other parent shift. In part 2, we're going to go even deeper into whether these patterns show up again in their kids' own relationships, and the one piece of advice each of these moms wishes that someone had given her on her journey. You won't want to miss it. I'll see you there, and in the meantime, I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. If you've been listening for a while, you may already understand what's happening in your relationship. You can see the patterns, you can name the behaviors, but maybe you still feel stuck in the same cycle. This is where coaching comes in. It's not about learning more. It's about having the support to finally apply what you already know and begin to move forward. If you're ready for that next step, I invite you to join me in my coaching program. You can learn more about it at covertnarcissism.com. Your story matters, and you deserve to be heard without judgment. Check out my coaching services at my website, again, covertnarcissism.com. And don't forget to subscribe, to thumbs up, to follow, to like this podcast so that you can get more empowering episodes like this one, and to help us continue spreading the word so that our community can continue to grow. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. The information provided by Renee Swanson, Covert Narcissism Podcast, and CNG Life Coaching is for educational purposes only and is not to be used for diagnosis purposes and not intended to be a substitute for clinical care. Please consult a healthcare provider for guidance specific to your case. This material discusses narcissism in general. Renee shares stories from her personal experience as well as from those she has talked with for several years. Her material does not claim that any specific person has narcissism and should not be used to refer to any specific person as having narcissism. Permission is not granted to link to or repost this material to support any allegation or support a claim that any specific person is a narcissist. That would be an unauthorized misuse of this material and information provided.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.